You are traveling through another dimension. A dimension of confusion, banality, and shattered expectations. A journey awarded to you by a small red pill. Your next stop, the MGTOW zone. Let's steer this in a direction that reveals my more recent exploits, that have made me come to the conclusions I'm about to hit you over the head with. I have lived in the most populous Muslim country in the world, Indonesia, for 11 years. I married a Muslim woman, and by law had to convert to Islam. But this was no foreskin off my penis, because dogma does not dictate my beliefs. However, it did put me in a great position to learn about polygamy from a certain perspective. And though this country is not run by religious law, it still recognizes my right to have more than one wife. So I did my best to learn about what this means from an Islamic perspective and a cultural perspective. In the holy book of Muslims, the Al-Quran, there is an entire chapter dedicated to women. Who would have thought? Yes, it is called Surat An-Nisa, or in English, the chapter of the woman. This is the 4th chapter in the book, and one of the longest. Apparently, even God knew the importance of trying to teach the world about the concepts of women. So much so that he dedicated an entire chapter to it, and a long one at that. Polygamy is only touched upon once in this verse, which might hint at its importance in regards to relating to women when compared to other things. But in the 2nd and 3rd verse of this chapter, it says this:
Give the orphans their money. Do not replace the good with the bad, and do not consume their money to your money, for truly it is a great sin. If you fear that you cannot be just to fatherless orphans, then marry those whom you see fit from the women, 2 and 3 and 4. But if you fear you will not be fair, then only one, or whom you already have contract with, so that you do not commit injustice and suffer hardship.
So in this so-called God-inspired narrative, it is speaking of fatherless orphans, an emphasis on fatherless. Or in other words, children being raised by a single mother.
You said it.
It says that if you can't afford financially to assist these children, then the next best thing is to marry their mothers. Further, it mentions that if you can't be fair under such a contract, then stay with one wife, so you don't commit injustice, and more importantly, as a man, you don't suffer hardship. Basically, God is saying, marry a widow to help the kids, but if you think she will screw you around, just don't do it. This is wisdom that survives to this day. But back then, women weren't lining up to get a divorce of convenience, as many of them do in this day and age. So the only hardship you might face as a man under those conditions would be the fact that taking on another wife basically equates to simply paying for another child and a woman who you actually get to see and be a part of their lives every day.
Hey, Moo! Shut up!
In 14th century Saudi Arabia, life was tough and the desert unforgiving. Many tribes were constantly at war, and often men traveled long distances with caravans to trade goods in order to support their families. The results were that many women were left widowed with children. And the most honorable thing a man could do in these situations is actually marry one of these widows and help raise her child. Polygamy was not about sexual prowess. It was about doing what would benefit society around you as a whole. Considering what we know about the consequences of single motherhood, I believe God, in His infinite wisdom, was giving humans sound advice on the dangers of rampant fatherlessness in our societies and culture. A wisdom that we have now sorely lost. God was basically saying, whatever you do, don't let these kids grow up without a father. The harm is too great to society at large. You know, it's funny how we can back up these so-called arguments of God today with researched facts and statistics.
It's foolish of me to attempt to stop this evil on my own.
I know that today we don't have to deal with warring tribes and long commutes across unforgiving deserts, but consider that war is still a reality, that men work the most dangerous jobs and make up 90% of workplace deaths. And consider that men still die on average 5 years younger than women. Because of these facts, I believe polygamy is still a viable solution to one of society's greatest ills when all other options fail. Especially since single motherhood is responsible for so much delinquency in our modern time. But therein lies the rub. Polygamy can never work in modern Western culture because of family court and divorce laws, which reward women for deconstructing their families over trivialities such as,
I'm just not happy.
with compensation by the state for women who abandon the fathers of their children over a whim. It's no wonder concepts like polygamy are shunned today. Because
women are empowered. They are independent. They are women.
Hear them roar.
the truth is, women today are unhappy, especially single mothers, or women who have been convinced to sacrifice motherhood for their own personal gain.
Do you want a chocolate?
And men are fed up with it. Thus, them going their own way. But in reality, our future relies on our children. And if our children are constantly subjected to fatherless homes, we are doomed, just as current statistics have proven. So understanding all of this, we must ask the next question. How exactly does polygamy benefit a society?
I could eat about 1.5 million of these. My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Fuck you, Gump.
Foolish of me to attempt to stop this evil on my own.